Hi. Today I want to talk about response versus reaction. Now, this is a skill that I am continually working on for myself. It's something that I believe that we can improve on with any type of relationship, whether it's with our children, people that we work with, our parents. Any kind of relationship can benefit from responding versus reacting. So, I really like to teach this by telling you a little story. And so you can fast forward through this if you don't want to hear it. But I think it's a really good example of response versus reaction. And then it can show you how you get a completely different outcome, or you can get a different outcome. So, this happened when my firstborn, my son, was about 2 years old. And every morning I always make breakfast. And so response versus reaction is something that I've been working on in my personal life with relationships for a really long time. Okay, so it just so happened that I had in my own personal therapy been working on response versus reaction. And so I got to try it out one morning when I was making breakfast for my son. He wanted Cheerios. Fine, we'll do Cheerios. I made him a bowl of Cheerios with his milk. I put him in the high chair. I sat him down in the kitchen. Our kitchen and our eating areas all together. And at the time, just the way we did life at the time, I had him faced toward the TV, and he was watching this channel called Babies First, and it's got just like some academic stuff. We don't do a lot of screen time, but in the morning, I would put him in front of the TV and let him eat so that I could clean the kitchen, right? So I'm cleaning up after dinner from last night, making sure that like lunches are made, and just doing a lot of the things, all the things, right? For me, I always have a list of things I could be doing. And so that is the time that I always took, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes in the mornings to let him eat breakfast and do my things. And so I'm doing all the stuff. I think I was washing dishes at the time. The water was running. And all of a sudden, his back is to me. Okay. And so he takes his Cheerio bowl and he throws it over his head, and it hits the floor behind him. And I see all this. It's all happening in front of me. And like I said, I had just been working on response versus reaction. And so my reaction would have been, okay, for what it's worth, not necessarily proud of all of it. It's not the worst, but this would have been my reaction. Oh my gosh. Why did you do that? You know we don't throw Cheerios in the house. Why did you do that? Now I have a huge mess to clean up. Oh my God. Something along those lines. Okay. So, like I said, I'd been working on it myself. So what I did, I saw it, and instead of, oh my God, I went, just one breath. That's all I did. One breath. Now I have a visualization that I do too. I see this like translucent blue, brightest blue ball, and it's darker blue as it's smaller. And as I take a breath in, it gets bigger and more translucent. And then as I take a breath out, it gets small again. So that works for me. Take it, try it, see if you want to change the color or use something else. But that's what I do. I like to get as many senses going as I can when I try a skill. So I took a breath in. One breath. That's all I did. So instead of a sharp inhale, I connected with my breath back to my body. Okay. And when I did that, I walked over and got in front of him and looked him in the eyes. And I was like, hey, what's going on, buddy? Why are you throwing Cheerios? And I usually don't get through this story without tears. So just so you know, we'll see if I can do it. He grabbed my face and he said, I just want you, Mama. And right then it hit me what may have seemed obvious to someone else suddenly became clear to me, that all he actually wanted was for me to sit down and eat breakfast with him. That's what he wanted. And the only way he knew how to do that was to throw Cheerios. So you know what I did? I stopped right then. I went and I turned the water off. I made me a bowl of Cheerios, made him a bowl of Cheerios. I left the Cheerios on the floor. And I sat down at the table and I pulled his high chair up to me and I sat with his tray right up at my chest. And we sat there and ate Cheerios together and looked at each other in the eyes. And I've done that every morning since. Every morning that I have had breakfast with my kids, and now I have a second child, and so I do have to do some of this number. But I sit down, and there are no electronics at the table, no phones, no anything, definitely no TV. And what we do is we sit and we talk, and we look at each other. And sometimes we don't talk. Sometimes we just look at our food. And sometimes we're not like super happy with each other, but we sit there and we spend time together. And what I love about that story, and and it's still, I don't know if you could tell, but it still brings emotion up in me, because I had missed so many mornings that all he wanted was connection with me. That's all he was after. And so I got the Cheerios cleaned up eventually, and I began doing breakfast differently from then on out. And you know, if I have dishes, I have dishes. And if I don't, I don't. It's just the way I do things now. And right or wrong, it's what works for me. I tell that story not as any kind of like shaming if you do any of those things. I don't say it to say that I do things perfectly, because I definitely do not. I tell you that story as an illustration of the difference between response versus reaction. Because if I had done my reaction, which most likely I had probably done countless times in different scenarios around the house, I had probably, and probably still do, react instead of respond. But when I responded, it literally changed everything I do about the mornings. It changed my morning routine. And I have more of a connection now. And I don't get some of those like destructive type behaviors. Definitely still do. But I don't get them as much because I've made that connection. So I wanted to illustrate that skill for you and tell you that little story so that I can teach you, and hopefully that you can start trying to figure out places where, I'm not saying every place, but places where you can start to respond instead of react. Response is calm. Response is helpful. Response says, you look upset. How can I help you? Do you need a hug? Response is, please use a calm voice when you're asking something from me. Response is not easy. It's not easy. I think that reactions are easy. Reactions are yelling, stop doing that right now. Wait, what? You spilled that again? Those are reactions. And reactions come naturally. And they come from a lot of different stuff. I think they're connected to our attachment style. I think they're connected to the way we were raised. I think they are connected to the things that we see and the ways that we show up in the world. Lots of different stuff. If you want some help working through some of that, feel free to give me a call. If we're connected personally, then I can get you some good names of people that I think help, therapists that help work through some of this kind of stuff. I'm happy to work through some of this stuff with you too. So reach out and get help. Use resources. That doesn't have to be a therapist relationship that can help you with this, but maybe even just some self-help stuff. I love the Gottman books on parenting, Raising an Emotionally Intelligent Child. I like Dan Siegel's books, No Drama Discipline, Parenting from the Inside Out. Those are some that come to mind just right off the bat. Those are some really great parenting tips. And I have a lot of stuff. If you would like to contact me, I'm happy to share it, especially in these times like this. I'm more than happy to share it. If you're interested in some kind of group, just let me know. I'm happy to start throwing out some resources, because that's the only reason I'm doing these things. I'm doing these things to get some resources out there so that people who can't leave their houses can at least have something to watch or listen to, and you know, just some stuff to implement. And know that I love you. And this is a long video, and I apologize, but know that I love all of you, and I'm sending love and health, and I hope that you stay well, and hang in there. We're all going to get through this. Okay?